Welcome to Look Behind the Look, the new podcast that examines iconic looks in film, television, music, and fashion history. I'm your host, Tiffany Bartok. Hey everyone, and welcome to 2022. I know it's been a week, 10 days, maybe 2 weeks by the time you hear this, that we've been in 2022. I hope it's all going okay for you and everybody's okay. I'm starting off with this amazing artist, Lottie. She has her own podcast, We Speak Beauty, and you may know it. I hope you do. If you don't, check it out immediately. And I had the honor of switching things up on her for a minute and having her on my podcast. So this is her first time on another person's podcast, and we had a lot of fun. I've always wanted to meet her. Her work is incredible. You can see it probably best on her Instagram. Her handle is Lotstar, Lotstar, and you're really going to enjoy following her. She puts all of her work up there, and it's incredible. We talk about her beginnings, and she walks us through her extensive career. She's worked as the global pro artist for Beauty Blender, North American color artist for Shiseido. She works with all these prestige brands on their campaigns. She's keyed fashion shows, of course. She works with countless celebrities, like Drew Barrymore, Elizabeth Olsen, Gabrielle Union, Alexandra Daddario, so many more. She's assisted Pat McGrath for years. She has countless covers, including Vogues in every country, and she hosts this incredible podcast that I told you about earlier, We Speak Beauty. So learn more about Lottie in our interview. I'm really excited to share this conversation with you. She has great advice for people who are far along in their careers or just beginning, and I love her story, so I hope you enjoy it as much as I enjoyed talking to her. Enjoy! Hello, everybody. I'm here with Lottie. How are you finally? I'm so excited for this day to come because I know all about you, but not all about you, which is why I wanted to have you on the show. I always feel like you're like class president. You are so social and you are such an advocate for community with makeup artistry. And it's amazing. You're everywhere and everybody loves you and knows you, but they might not know a lot about you. So, because I feel like everybody comes with the assumption that they know you because you have a podcast and you're on Clubhouse and, you're always community driven. And so I kind of wanted to just start from the beginning and get to know you from the beginning and see all about you. How did you get started? How did this all begin? How did Lottie start?
It's such a random kind of long story.
We
I've
have
never
time.
been referred to as class president, though. That's a new one. I love it.
Good.
I was the goth kid in school and definitely not the class president.
Right. Well, this is where you can feel like it's all role reversal now because that all pays off. Goth girl pays off.
Yeah. I don't even really know where to start. I think, I've always had an interest in makeup and probably without even realizing it, I thought I wanted to be a graphic designer. So when I was younger, I used to rip out my favorite ad campaigns from magazines, and I was just drawn to beautiful imagery without really thinking about the makeup, honestly. I didn't really wear makeup until the middle of high school. And, I would sneak red lipstick and mascara because I wasn't really allowed to wear makeup.
Yep.
And I think as I got older, I started to experiment more with makeup, and I would go out dancing, going to the club and all that sort of thing.
Where did you grow up? California?
I grew up in Southern California. Yeah. In the armpit of California, the Inland Empire.
Nice.
If anyone listening is in the Inland Empire, they understand.
Nice.
So yeah, I just did makeup on myself.
So you found it by empowering yourself with makeup, and then it grew from there. So everybody probably asked you to do theirs, and then
no, actually.
No,
I don't think I did anybody's makeup until I started pursuing makeup.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay. So how did you start pursuing it? Was it at a counter or?
No, I never worked at a counter. I did work retail, which was tedious. I worked at Hot Topic for 2.5 years, assistant manager. Don't be jealous. And I actually met my good friend Elvira while at Hot Topic, and we connected later on I have a very long-winded, kind of weird journey.
I love
I
it.
worked in accounting. I worked in production accounting. So I worked originally at Warner Brothers, and then I worked at a company called A Band Apart, which was Quentin Tarantino's production company. And so I got to experience on set, even though really I had no business being there, we were allowed to go and hang out on the set of music videos and things like that. So I got to be in the production world without really thinking about makeup. Yeah, it was just fun. It was like, oh, accounting is fun. It's really not. Accounting really is not fun.
Yeah.
And
don't try this at home, kids.
Yeah, no, don't try it at home. But I really didn't enjoy working in accounting.
Yeah.
And I ended up having an opportunity to swap apartments with a friend of mine who I met through A Band Apart. He was a producer, and he was supposed to swap his apartment in LA for an apartment in London. Okay. And he couldn't go at the last minute. And he knew I was this huge Anglophile, you know, always obsessed with British music and British culture, and said, have you ever been to England? Do you want to go? And I was like, okay. So I quit my job and I went to London for the summer, and I stayed there in this apartment. And the people who owned the apartment were creatives. One of them was a musician, and the other one was a photographer. And the photographer said, hey, if you're interested in graphic design, maybe I can hook you up with this magazine that I work with a lot down the street called Dazed and Confused. And I said,
my God.
I love Dazed and Confused. And, you know, back then it was very much about film and music. Yeah. Not so much about fashion.
Right.
And I actually collected the magazine. So I was very excited. So
before you worked there. Yeah.
Yeah. So she set me up with an interview with Rankin, and he said, you know, I can let you work in the design department, an intern there, but are you open to working and helping me out? And I said, sure. I'm here in London for the summer. So whatever you need me to do, I have nothing else to do. So I helped him doing just menial jobs. And I sort of worked in the design department, but not really. I got to help on one cover, which was very exciting because it was one of my favorite bands. It's for Blur.
For Blur.
Yeah. So I got to sort of work on that. I didn't do much, but I did help with the cover. And I also helped him when he was doing photo shoots. You know, part of why his portraits are so amazing is because he sits down with the talent and really talks to them and gets them to relax and gets to know them. And, you know, if he was running late, that was kind of my job, like introduce myself and sit down with people and just get them to relax until he got there. And along with that, ordering blow dryers and hand dryers for the bathroom and
right.
Basically everything. But yeah, that was the first time I actually saw a photo shoot in real life and saw a working makeup artist in real life was while I was interning there.
Wow.
And the funny thing is that I remember there being a day when there was a makeup artist and Rankin said, you know, she doesn't have an assistant. Do you mind kind of helping her out? And I said, sure, but I don't know what I'm doing. He's like, it's fine. She'll tell you if she needs you to do something, she'll tell you. And I was like, okay. So I sort of assisted this makeup artist. She didn't really need my help. I was just kind of standing there, you know, in case.
Good job.
Yeah. And then it wasn't until years later, and I mean, probably 8 years later, that I realized that was Charlotte Tilbury. But it was very early for her, I think, because this was a long time ago. And so I didn't really assist her, but it was just funny because I saw her photo in British Vogue and it was for her wedding. And I said, oh, wait a minute, that's that makeup artist.
I know her.
Yeah. So
random. Wow.
I did end up assisting her once on a show years later with a Mac team. But yeah.
Funny. My gosh, that's really funny how it all comes full circle sometimes.
Yeah, but working there kind of gave me the buzz. It's like, this is what people are talking about when they say be a makeup artist. Because I had lots of friends who would say, you should do makeup. And going back to my friend Elvira, she always kind of told me, you should try doing makeup on other people. Like you do such good makeup on yourself. And I was like, oh, no, I don't think I could do makeup on other people. But the more I hated my job, the more I got interested in doing makeup.
That'll fuel it.
Exactly. So yeah, I just kind of snowballed from there. And while after I ended up getting married during this time. I met my husband during that summer, and we ended up getting married. I moved to London, and I just kind of tried to do accounting and production and couldn't get a job in production. So I ended up doing real accounting, like working for real accounting places.
No, this is getting further and further from the goal.
And I was like, this is not fun at all.
Yeah.
So I just thought, you know what, I'm going to try and do this makeup thing. So I just asked all the girls that worked with me if I could do their makeup. And on the weekends, I would do their makeup and I would take photos and just kind of critique myself. And that's how I started. And I just tried to do it. I did my very first test shoot in London. I remember in Brixton, and the model was a theater actress, and the pictures weren't amazing, but it kind of just lit a fire in me, I guess.
Yeah.
So we decided to move back to LA.
You and your husband both left London and moved to LA?
Yeah, I told you it's a very long story.
No, it's good. So I'm like, your life is good. This is very exciting already. So when you moved to LA, how was he feeling about that? I mean, was this to explore the makeup career, or
no,
that wasn't the goal?
No, it was more of just, we realized we didn't really want to stay in London. It was too expensive.
Yeah.
Neither of us were that crazy. We wanted to buy a house eventually, and it was just
right. You can't do it in London.
So we decided to move to California. So we moved to LA, and pretty much right when I moved back to LA, my friend Elvira had been doing makeup and said, I think you should really do this. And she kind of pushed me into it.
Okay.
Really. And she loves to tell this story too. And she helped me figure out the portfolio situation, and she connected me with a photographer that she was working with. And she said, I really want you to work with this photographer, and I think it's a good way for you to kind of build a portfolio. And I was like, okay. So I had a full-time job, but because I had to work.
Yeah.
So I would call in sick, and I would work on the weekends, and I would do whatever I could. And I started working with this photographer. Her name is Alex Prager, and she's now hugely successful. And we still work together sometimes, which is great.
Oh, that's great.
To come back. Yeah. And it started there, and I just kind of busted my ass until I felt like I could quit my job in accounting and try and pursue the freelance life.
And you and Elvira are still close?
We're not super close because she's actually in New York and I'm back in LA.
Okay.
But we're still friends. Yeah. I don't see her enough or talk to her enough.
I love this. Okay. So then it kind of took off from there because you got an agent, or you just were freelancing without one and just finding work and flying by the seat of your pants.
This is the early 2000s. So I didn't really know what I was doing. I didn't know how to break into the industry. I didn't know anything really. I didn't know about agents. I didn't even think about agents. It was actually Elvira again, who
she's the business mind.
Yeah. She should just be my agent, really.
Yeah.
She connected me to an agency that she was working with here in Los Angeles. And I assisted random people here and there, but I didn't assist full time. And it just kind of made me more confident, thinking like, okay, I can do this. I see how this works. Like, I just need to build a portfolio and try and make clients. So I just did that. And I didn't really have a way of connecting with photographers that didn't know what I was doing. So I continued to work with Alex. And in the meantime, this little, website called MySpace became super popular. And I just started promoting myself on MySpace.
Can we just bring MySpace back? It was so peaceful. It was so fun. I know the kids don't know. They don't know what they're missing. So you were promoting on MySpace, which was a very real thing and very fun to do, I'm sure.
But I didn't have models. I didn't have access to models. So aside from the photos of that I was doing with Alex, I just would do makeup on myself and take pictures, or my husband would take pictures, and I'd post them on MySpace just to show that I could do makeup. And so I just did this for ages, and that's kind of how I got experience. And when I could do photo shoots, I would, and when I could assist, I would. And then, it just kind of snowballed into this thing. And I ended up getting my first real job from MySpace.
Oh my God, stop
So
it.
I
That's
got
awesome.
this message. I got this message from Mia Tyler, who at the time was working as a plus size model. She's sister of Liv Tyler. And she wrote me and she said, "Hey, I love your work. I'm going to be doing this TV show and I don't want to use their bullshit TV artists." This is exactly what she said. And she asked me what my rate was. I had no idea what to say. I'm pretty sure I quoted something very low because I didn't care. I just wanted the experience. And yeah, I became her personal makeup artist on a reality show that she did for VH1. And that was my first real job.
That's incredible. Oh my, she was everywhere for a while. I remember that. What a beautiful girl. Oh my gosh.
She is, and she's still a good friend. And she's actually given me my dogs that I've had over the years. Connected me with my dogs. Yeah.
I love how you collect these amazing people and they're all just there. They're still there in your life. So because you had experience with production, you must have, the first question I have for you is why you didn't end up going union and doing film and TV makeup, because you had so much experience on set.
I mean, not really. I didn't have that much experience. I did a TV show. I wouldn't call that like it was a reality show, which is not reality.
No, but with so, being in just in the world of production, accounting, and you know,
I don't know. I don't think it appealed to me. The makeup aesthetic didn't appeal to me as much as magazines, you know,
because they could go further.
Yeah, I was very interested and drawn to fashion magazines and beauty and ad campaigns. Some of these Shiseido ads that I have on my wall, I've had since back then that I pulled out of magazines. And I didn't know at the time why I was drawn to it. I thought it was the design aspect. And in a way it was too, but it was also the makeup was this, you know, fantasy, beautiful. And so I realized I wanted to do fashion. And you know, I started doing research, you know, the internet, this thing called the internet became available. And I was more open to things that were outside of Los Angeles. I discovered who Pat McGrath was and became obsessed with her work and all the runway work. And I just decided, you know what, I want to do runway. So another long story, but my best friend, Camille, her family worked in cosmetics. And they worked with Smashbox, and her father was in town to have this meeting with Smashbox. And I jokingly said, "Give him my business card." And she did. And they called me a couple of months later out of the blue. And they said, "Hey, we got your business card. And we have a makeup artist coming in from New York who's looking for assistance for the runway shows here in LA. Would you be interested?" And I was like, "Yes." And the key artist was this guy named Carl Giant, who he was keying a lot of shows for Smashbox here in LA. And his work was, you know, very creative with rhinestones and feathers and all sorts of fun looks. And they asked me if I could come down and meet him. And I did. And I hit it off right away with him. And I just started doing LA Fashion Week with him. And that really just ignited my love for fashion. I was like, yeah, this is what I want to do.
The pacing and the looks.
Yeah, I thrived off the stress and the urgency of backstage. And I was just like, yes, this is where I need to be.
Oh, that's fantastic. That's so funny because Smashbox was a big part of my story too. I did that book, The Artist's Way. Do you remember it?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And I was like having a meltdown on what do I do with my life? And it says like, write about what you love to do. And it was makeup. And then I go to the Bloomingdale's counter at the Smashbox counter and I go, how do I do that? And she was like, seriously, are you good at makeup? And I was like, I mean, I can do it on myself. And she's like, because somebody just quit and I need somebody to start tomorrow. And my first job was at the Smashbox counter.
That's lucky.
It was so much. And, you know, you got to express yourself and do all that fabulous stuff. But, so you were in fashion, you were interested in the fashion shows, but you didn't travel to New York. You didn't have a desire to go do the whole New York thing.
Well, I didn't know what to do.
You didn't know. So right. Of course. How would you know? Yeah. So,
and it was actually Carl who said, you know, if you want to work in fashion, you need to go to New York, you know, and try and work the shows there. Because,
did you think about it? No.
I thought about it, but I'd never been to New York. And I
Isn't
wasn't
that
sure
funny?
that I wanted to live in New York because I love California. I love Los Angeles. And so I said, okay, well, let me go to New York and see what it's like. And at that time, I was actually working with a photographer in LA who I met through her best friend on MySpace again. And that photographer her name is Jamie Nelson. And we started working
Oh,
together and
yeah.
building
Those,
beauty. And she was still in photography school at the time. So
wow.
I would drive up to Santa Barbara and shoot with her. And I just started building a beauty book. And so she ended up moving to New York, leaving me here. And I was like,
Jamie.
no, we have this great connection. And then you moved. And then, she started calling me and saying, you should really come to New York. Like, this is where it's at, kind of thing. And I
Mm-hmm.
just thought, I don't know if I want to go to New York. So I ended up just going to see
Mm-hmm.
if I liked it. I didn't like it. And I was like, I don't know,
Yeah.
I need to think about it. And I became more and more interested in fashion and doing fashion shows. And I just thought, okay, if I'm going to move to New York, I need to go and figure this out. So I went back to New York and ended up doing a shoot with Jamie while I was there and went to her studio. And I thought, okay, if I can live in this building,
Mm-hmm.
then I'll move here, because she wasn't in New York City and I didn't want to be like in the heart of it in the
Okay.
city. I didn't want the noise. And I
Right,
just wasn't
right.
interested. And she was like, no, don't say that, because what if you don't get into the building? And I was like, nope, that's what I've
It's
decided.
got to be this building.
If I can get into this building, then I'll move here. And if I can't, then it's not meant to be. And I got an apartment in the building. And so we moved to New York. And
Oh, wow.
that's kind of how it started. And a few months later, started working with Pat on shows. And I mean, it sounds so funny when I talk about it now, but yeah, it just kind of snowballed.
Why does it sound funny? Because you're realizing the scope of how everything happened, and
Yeah, just
yeah,
realizing, I guess, that when I'm determined, I
yeah,
will do whatever it takes to make something happen.
right. Wouldn't you say that's the biggest piece of advice for somebody first you have to figure out what it is you want, right?
Yeah.
And then you have
Mm-hmm.
to do whatever it takes. Yeah. Um, so when you were with Pat, you were in New York.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And then you were doing the fashion weeks with Pat and things. And what was that like? What do you remember about that? Do you remember anything?
Yeah, of course. I worked on shows with her for almost 7 years.
Wow.
And
What were some of your favorite experiences?
um
Too many to pick.
definitely definitely the first time I went to Paris, the Galliano show backstage was probably my favorite memory,
Tell me.
because that was the show, that the makeup that I was always drawn to, and this is like fast forwarding a few years after working with her. It wasn't like I instantly went into a Galliano show, but just being backstage. And I remember being in the backstage right as the girls were going out and all the lights went down, and, being ready and doing touch-ups, and then just seeing the flashes from the photographers taking pictures backstage and seeing the makeup with the flashes. And I just got really overwhelmed and just started crying. I was
Of
like, oh my God,
course.
I can't believe this. This is so surreal.
Of
And
course.
yeah, it was very exciting.
Wow. Which show was that? Do you remember? Your first one? Your first Galliano show?
I don't remember the exact season. I
Yeah, yeah,
what
yeah.
the makeup looked like. But yeah, it was probably 2008, 2009, something
Oh
around
my God,
there.
they're all so extraordinary. I mean, just amazing. So then you realized, so then you stayed in New York for how long?
I was in New York for 7 years.
Okay.
But while I was assisting, I only worked on shows. I wasn't a full-time assistant. So I was still working and building my portfolio and building clients. And I mean, I can't fit my whole career into,
No,
into one conversation. It's
no,
really long-winded. So
no.
I'm skipping a lot of stuff here, but I continued working with Jamie, and I ended up
And
working with
you
agencies.
work with Jamie all the time. Like I just
Yeah.
saw a shoot with Jamie recently in your feet. Those pictures are amazing always. The ones that she
Thank you.
takes, amazing.
Yeah, she's great.
So then when did you find yourself like getting in with brands and stuff? You do a lot of work with different brands and you do their campaigns and stuff. When did you find yourself doing that?
My very first beauty campaign was while I was in New York. Actually, it was for Physicians Formula.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And it was my first beauty campaign. It was also my first billboard in Times Square, which was really exciting.
Wow. That
Yeah.
physician's formula is what my mom allowed me to wear because it sounded like, like it was better for your skin, like
Right.
medical.
Sounds
It's like medical.
medical.
She's like, you can get Neutrogena or physician's formula or Almay. Those were the three.
They were
Okay, thanks.
safe.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
No outlandish colors.
No.
Yeah.
Mm-mm. 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 They were okay for school. So when you're working with brands, do they lend themselves to, like, if are you with one company, like let's say L'Oreal, and then you work for all them, or can you cross over? It doesn't matter who
No.
owns what. You can work for any campaign.
Yeah.
That's one question I wanted to ask you about.
Unless you're in a contract with somebody that's
Uh-huh.
exclusive, which honestly, exclusive contracts are not that common anymore. Most beauty brands, when they hire ambassadors or put someone on contract, it's non-exclusive.
Why do you think that is? Because they have to pay for that and it's too much. I see.
Because yeah, they have to pay more for exclusivity. And
Sure.
also I think there's so many makeup brands these days
Yeah.
that it's you really kind of limiting a makeup artist's ability to work.
Right.
Honestly,
Right.
So I actually in 2018 had 2 contracts, which was amazing. Shiseido was one of them, which was very exciting for me. And the other one was Beauty Blender. And that was really interesting for me because it was the first time I got to see how things worked behind the scenes with beauty brands. And I had no idea. So that was really exciting. And yeah, I think I can't really remember after Physicians Formula. I don't know. I mean, I just did so much beauty work. I think that's why I ended up where I am now, where I am lucky enough to work with a lot of beauty brands. But yeah, Jamie and I, we're very, very similar. We're kind of like sisters, and we're very similar in the way that we live and breathe beauty. Like even when she tries to do fashion, not tries, she does fashion. She still has to get a lot of beauty in there.
Right.
And she's just probably better than any other photographer that I've ever worked with beauty. She just has such an incredible eye and can take any girl and just find their best angles, their best look, no matter what. Wow. It's a gift that she has. And I don't know, I feel like because we put so much time and effort into doing so much beauty in our own time, just because we needed to, we both are those type of people that have to be creative and we have to create regardless of whether we're getting paid or if it's for a magazine. So we would just shoot as much as we could. And we just built this relationship and kind of built this reputation of being this beauty partnership, I guess. And we got the attention of makeup brands by doing that. And yeah, I feel very fortunate to have found a photographer that I really connect with, that I'm able to create with still for so many years. I mean, it's been probably 16 years.
Oh my gosh.
17
wow.
years. Yeah.
Oh, that's really beautiful. That's amazing. Yeah. Photographers were always tricky with me. I would get so angry, and it's hard to find a good.
It's hard for me, trust me, because I'm so spoiled.
I'm sure.
We are very collaborative too. So everything from casting to editing to everything, we're connected and we collaborate. So I don't get to do that with other photographers, and it's hard for me to adjust and like kind of put myself back in my corner.
Sure. And you're like pouting in the corner. Like,
in the beginning, it was hard. Now it's fine.
But yeah. You're like, that's just not Jamie. Okay. Moving on. What did you think the key is to great beauty shots? I mean, is it the skin? How does the skin look so amazing all the time? Is it the lighting, or the makeup? Is it the model? What is the
everything?
Key? Yeah, all of it together.
I think
really hard.
I think as far as makeup goes, I think the key is balance. And I definitely learned that from working in graphic design. I say
okay.
Really, I went to school for graphic design. I think I skipped that part.
Yeah. No, you told you told me you had an interest in it, so I assumed that's what you went to school for.
So I had gone to graphic design school before I went to London, and
that's great.
I learned about color theory and I learned about balance, and I think that that's definitely helped me in my work. And I think that's where a lot of people kind of not fail, but that's their weakness, is they don't know when to stop, they don't know when to pull back, and they don't know how to find the balance. it's like this weird chemical thing. If I look at a picture and the colors don't go together, I don't know. It like makes my head hurt and makes my eyes go, what's happening?
Yeah. No, that's amazing. I remember, even now, can you notice on TV, like with the better that the cameras get, the more you can see now where they just spot treated a face, whereas maybe they didn't put the whole thing on.
Or all the red is pulled out of the makeup. So it's really yellow in spots. Yeah.
So yellow and green are just like neon to me now on these better TVs. I wanted to ask you too about the podcast and how that came about before I ask you about these looks that I picked. I'm going to surprise you. I didn't tell you which looks.
Hopefully I remember them.
I know. No, it's okay if you don't, because we'll go through it together. But I wanted to ask you about your podcast. It's so great. It's We Speak Beauty. And how did you become so knowledgeable about absolutely everything? You talk about everything from etiquette. I mean, everyone obviously is listening to this. If you're not already, you should be, because I feel you're so gentle, and all the information is essential for how to behave on set, and, how to navigate this very complicated and emotional career. And you're really great at telling people to take the emotion out of things and, it's really valuable information about navigating this overwhelming industry, and how did it get started, and how did you feel ready to talk about all that and dispense all that information?
Well, my longtime assistant, Lindsay, and I had kind of been talking about it because I just started listening to podcasts for a couple of years before that. And, I was saying it'd be great to just do a podcast and be able to help artists, because I think the reason why I'm so generous with the information is because, I was teaching master classes, and mostly my classes covered those sort of things, things that other classes don't really cover.
Yeah.
Didn't cover. Like set etiquette, or how to build a portfolio, or how to start assisting, or what is expected of an assistant. Like, this information is just nowhere. There's maybe a couple books knocking around, but it's not really accessible to everybody worldwide. And because I didn't go to school, I didn't really have somebody telling me how to do all these things. I learned the really hard way, and Lindsay as well. So I think I just wanted to make it easier for people. Nowadays it's easy to learn makeup, I think, because we have things like YouTube and Instagram lives and all of these things where you can have access to big artists and learn from these greats that we all love.
Totally.
But no one talks about the nitty gritty stuff, and no one talks about how to make those connections, or what you're supposed to do, or, what's PC and what's not PC as far as being on set and all those things. So yeah, we actually were in Europe for Fashion Week in 2020 in February, talking about it, and just decided to, kind of come up with some names. And we had a list of different names, and we decided on We Speak Beauty. And then COVID hit, like hardcore hit. And we just thought, you know what? We have nothing else to do. Let's figure it out.
Perfect timing.
And luckily, my husband, who is also a musician, he wrote the song for us. He did our editing, and we figured it all out. We're still figuring it out. It's not perfect, but it's a lot of fun, and we've gotten some great feedback. And it's just nice to know that people appreciate the information, and knowing that we're helping people kind of figure out this career. It's a nice feeling.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's very unifying, and it brings people together, and you're really giving a valuable product, if you want to call it a product, to the community. Yeah,
this industry is so isolating and can be so depressing, especially if you don't have a lot of people, if you don't have your own artist community. That's why I always talk about how important it is to try and build one, because people that don't work as freelance artists, or even as freelancers, period, they don't understand. They just think, oh yeah, poor you get to choose your own hours, poor you get to travel. But they don't realize how actually it really takes its toll on you mentally, physically. And so it's nice to have, and
having no advocacy and no union. Yeah.
So it's just, yeah, we like to just give the information out. You know, obviously people respond to some information more than others, but even if, you know, a handful of people get something from the episodes, that makes us happy. So.
Isn't that the hardest part? You're like, is anyone out there? It's
I know
sometimes,
you don't know. You don't know who's listening. You don't know if anyone's liking what you're talking about. It's like you're in the dark completely.
No, I always love the advice on the show, and I really appreciate it because you can apply it also to different. It's not just for people in the beauty industry as well. So it's about anybody who's, you know, independent and freelancing, and it's really valuable. And every time I share something, somebody's like, "Oh, I heard that one." So know that everybody is unified.
Thanks, Tiffany.
Yeah, my gosh, of course, because as you know, the podcasting world is very isolating as well. It's like we went from one isolation to another. I
love your podcast too, and I love your guests. It's great.
I
just love that there's this option now, because
I know.
I'm sure you probably started around the same time as me, and there was just nothing, literally nothing.
No, there was nothing. And now there's so many, you know what I mean? So it's challenging to keep it going, but it's not. Once I'm like talking to you, I'm like, I'm so glad I'm doing this, you know, but you know, you're like, wait, am I supposed to still be doing this? Yes. Yes. Let's talk about some of your looks. Of course, I'm going to ask you about this one. I'm sure you saw that coming.
I didn't actually.
I love this. This is a Vogue cover. If you're listening, make sure you check out this image. This is the Vogue Portugal cover. And can you tell me about this look and how it came to be?
Well, the thing about my beauty work is, which is very frustrating for a lot of people that work with me, is that I don't plan anything. It's very, very, very rare that I plan a look.
Okay.
Very rare. I don't do face charts. I don't do mood boards. I don't do any of that. If someone sends me a mood board, I will look at their references very loosely, but I try not to be too influenced by anything. Because I prefer to just wait until I'm in front of the talent and then talk to everybody else on set, the stylist, see what the lighting's like, see what's happening with the set, with photography and everything, and then think about what I want to do. And I'm very quick on my feet. You know, like I'm very good at just looking at someone and being like, oh, I would do this, you know, so it's easier for me and it just comes out naturally and creatively it works better for me that way. But for this, I wanted to do a lot of different lip looks, and it was a 2-day shoot. And the first day was one model where we were focusing on macro beauty, and I wanted to do something different. And I had this idea to just do like a really textured lip. And I was just kind of sitting around and playing around. And I just thought, well, let me try this. And I tried it on myself. And I remember asking my husband, what do you think? And he was like, I don't know. It looks kind of stupid. And I was like, okay, well, I kind of like it. And then I sent it to Jamie and she's like, oh, that's really cool. I like it. And I was like, okay, we'll ignore the husband. So yeah, that was it really. Just did it. I didn't think they were going to use it for the cover. There's actually a different.
Oh, wow. So that was a surprise.
Yeah.
How's that feel?
Like awesome.
Yeah.
Love a cover.
Love a cover. What's macro beauty?
Macro beauty is shot with a macro lens, which means it's very, very close up where you see literally every detail.
It's amazing. It's like the pen lips with the B, and I just absolutely love it. Want it framed. And then I also have to ask you about these because when I saw this pop up on the feed, it was a throwback, and like I literally gasped because I love this person, but I've seen so many makeups on this person, but this is the best makeup I've ever seen on this person. This is Drew Barrymore, and this Drew Barrymore shoot, I can't tell if it's one shoot. Let's see, because this is Marie Claire cover and this is New Beauty cover. So you've done her a few times, and I just want to talk all things Drew because there's something about this, especially the brown red lipstick, which is just a touch of 90s to make me feel like I'm home again. But, but it's just enough red. So I have to know, did you match them to the earrings or did they match the earrings to that? Tell me about the construction of this look.
Honestly, I don't really remember because it was the first time I met and worked with Drew Barrymore. And so I was just so excited about being there. It's funny. I'll tell you a little background story because I remember going over to Jamie's house. And we just went to like chat and have some drinks. We were with friends and hanging out in her backyard. And I said, oh my God, Jamie, Drew Barrymore is following me on Instagram. And she was like, it's not really her.
Right.
She's not following you. And then she was looking and we were just comparing and she couldn't believe that it was really her. And then right. And she was following Jamie too. And so we were kind of like, oh, it must be a mistake, you know, because both of us have not worshipped, but yes, worshipped Drew Barrymore since we were young. Okay.
Yes.
Me totally especially acceptable. Because I'm the same age roundabout as Drew. And so I literally grew up watching her, you know, from ET and onwards. So I was very excited to work with her and she could not have been any better, honestly, than I could have imagined because everything you expect her to be and you hope that she is, and then some. Wow. She's very genuine. What you see is exactly how she is all the time. And she also loves makeup and she brings a lot to the table with ideas. And, you know, we always use only her brand Flower, which is, it should show you that it's such a great brand because it's all I ever use on her.
I have to say that I do love Flower. I mean, there's a red that they have that I use all the time. I get compliments on it all the time and it never budges. And it's really good. It's really good stuff. Yeah. So that's cool to hear that you used Flower because did you mix this lipstick? Tell me.
No. I wish I could remember the name of it off the top of my head, but
I'm going to find out. It. I'm on it. It's so luminous. And then her brows look amazing, of course. And then, so did you work with her on twice then?
I've worked with her several times now. Yeah.
Okay. Amazing.
She has a first makeup artist that's worked with her for years and years and years. So I'm just lucky enough to be second choice.
That's great. When you have to work with an idol, like, you know, they say never meet your idols, but I don't listen to that rule at all because I've been pleasantly surprised and I've never been luckily disappointed. But you, that feeling, how do you work with that feeling that you have the night before? How do you transfer it into like positive energy? Do you say an affirmation to yourself? How do you like?
No, I mean, I've never really been starstruck. So I don't really get nervous about that sort of thing. I just get excited. And if anything, it's a reverse. So I'm actually more calm, almost like I'm just trying to actively control any emotion showing of excitement because I don't want people to feel like I'm a fangirl and make them feel uncomfortable. So I always try to make an effort to just be cool, calm, and collective.
Zen about it. Yeah. I also wanted to ask you about this look and this shoot. And
that's my COVID creative explosion. This is
incredible. Incredible.
Yeah. So the first one that you showed is actually something we did in the middle of 2020. And I was not really the middle, maybe towards the end of 2020. And I was just going insane, not doing work, not doing makeup, not being creative. And, you know, we put together that shoot kind of last minute. And that model, Caitlin, I love her. She's one of my muses. I've worked with her a lot. Jamie and I worked with her a lot too. And I just said to Jamie, look, I don't have a plan. I just need to do something with color. I just want to get creative. And she was like, okay, let's do it. And so, yeah, every shot was just a color explosion.
Amazing. So how did you put what did you use for the colors for the base? You don't even remember.
I don't remember. I don't remember. I never really remember that sort of thing because I mix a lot. Yeah. I know I used a lot of water-based colors, you know, like the Cryolin, those kind of things. And also creams. So it wasn't like I used one particular thing. Yeah.
It's so smooth though. It's so smooth and so
just did whatever I had, used whatever I had to get the color I wanted.
Beautiful. And then do you use the same thing? What did you use for these guys? Because this is a beautiful finish.
That shoot was really difficult.
Really?
Probably one of the hardest shoots I've ever done.
Really?
Yeah. It was the conditions we were in were difficult. It was hot. It was me working with a medium that I don't work with a lot. Trying to achieve something unrealistic, basically, like trying to mix. It was, I used a lot of different brands of water-based colors, but mostly MAC. Yeah.
The face and body.
No, the MAC, what is it called? Chroma cake.
Okay. Okay. But the outcome is beautiful.
Thank you.
Yes. And the hair. Oh my God. I love the whole thing.
Thank you.
And then I wanted to ask you about the Jeremy Scott, lastly, the Jeremy Scott collab that you just did, the Adidas Moschino campaign. How was that? How did that
So
come
fun.
about?
So fun.
It looks so great.
I work with Jeremy a lot on Moschino and his different collabs he's done over the years. He's one of my favorite people to work with. He's super chill, so sweet. There's never drama. There's never yelling. There's never atmosphere. He's just very
wonderful.
kind. And, you know, he usually knows what he wants. He has great casting, and it's always a good day, honestly, working with Jeremy.
Oh, that's wonderful.
And yeah, it was just, we wanted to do super glowy and have their skin be real. And I did a little bit of accent color on one of the girls. But yeah, it was just about glowing skin and letting the colors of the collection really shine, because it was, you know, a lot of neons, and it was him returning to Adidas. So it was a really big collab. So,
yeah. I want
five or six models.
I want everything in the collection. It was so fabulous looking. And I love that neon is here to stay for a while.
You know, I love neon.
Oh, I love it. I love it. So I wanted to ask you, since you, but you give a lot of it on your podcast, but just, I want to know, like, what would be the 3 things that you would tell someone who just got off the bus and got here and wants to be a makeup artist? And it's like, I have a YouTube channel and I have 9 million subscribers and now I want to do it for real. What would you say to somebody?
Oh, you mean somebody who already has a following?
Oh, that's a good, I guess
that's like that to me. That's a different world completely.
Really?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
There's a lot of crossover now. You know, you have more and more pro artists are starting YouTube channels. It's almost going backwards.
I noticed that. Yes. Would you say that an artist has to have a YouTube channel?
I don't have a YouTube channel.
You don't?
No.
Oh, okay. Wow.
I mean, technically I do, but I really only use it to save.
How would you ever
find?
Yes. Yeah. Exactly. And a landing page or a catalog of all your work. Yeah. That's very smart. What do you think the 3 most important things for someone getting started would be?
Determination, doing the research, and just never stop learning. Really. I guess that kind of goes under research too. Well, there's more than 3 things you need, honestly, but I think if you are passionate about it and you really want to do it, you just have to keep going. And it's a really, really hard industry, especially if you work in fashion. It's very, very hard. It's a very thankless industry. So you have to have tough skin. You know, you can't take things personally, because fashion, especially, people get super stressed out and they take it out on other people sometimes, and it's never personal. So you kind of have to just let that wash over you, because the second you take those things personally, it's all over, because then you start doubting yourself and you start feeling like you don't belong and you're not doing anything right. And, you know, that's just really toxic for continuing doing something that you love, I think.
Would you say that behavior is not going to change? So I'm older, so I'm of the school of thought where it's like creative people, some things just aren't going to change and you need to toughen up. I mean, that's my thought on that. But some people would say that we don't need to toughen up. The behavior needs to change, right?
No, because I mean, I'm like you. I'm an older person, and I think that what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. I'm with you. I think that is true, because I honestly feel like nowadays people have it a lot easier, and there are some people who are starting who are a little bit more entitled in their attitude. Even just with social media, you know, I see it when people leave comments on my work or they message me and they're just so, not everybody, but I get some messages that are just very abrupt. Yeah. Like I'll get comments, lipstick ? Just like, or what did you use? You know, like as if I owe it to them, you know? Yes. And I just think, okay, well, I don't know you. I don't, most of the time I just ignore it. But I think that having a little humility and doing things on your own is what I like to encourage people to do. And, you know, sometimes I get a lot of backlash when I say things like, you know, it doesn't really matter what I use. It's good if you go out and experiment and try things on your own and mix things together and use things in an unconventional way, because that's how I taught myself. And if that's how I learned, that's my advice to you. You know, if I just tell you everything I use, you're not going to get the same look. You're not going to have the same outcome if you don't have the eye and you don't have the experience of working with the product.
That's really true.
Or anything. So
that's a good point.
I just think people need to play more, you know, instead of getting caught up in the newest, latest, and greatest product, because there are so many products.
Right.
Technique over product is what I always say.
Yes, of course.
Practice.
I mean, yeah, people might say that, like, and keeping an open mind, right? Like something in Walmart is equally great, you know?
Yeah, you can find great things now. I mean, drugstore makeup is not what it used to be when I was growing up.
No. And it doesn't cost
CoverGirl powder that smelled like Noxzema. I mean, I don't even know if I make that still, but that was my first makeup item I bought, I think.
And do they even make Noxzema anymore?
I don't know.
What was it?
Probably.
What was Noxzema?
Chemicals and menthol.
God. And menthol. I loved it so much and probably completely damaged my face for life.
Same. But yeah, I just think that it's important that artists think for themselves and not pay too much attention to what other people are doing, especially on social media. I get really frustrated because people don't look outside of social media anymore for inspiration.
No, you're so right.
So it's just constant recycling of everything.
It truly is. It's just one cover that goes around for 48 hours and then it's over and then you're on to the next. No, that's so true. And the references are really lacking.
Yes.
Right. Yeah, I know in the history. That's why I started
watch an old movie. Watch some old music videos on YouTube, like anything just to get outside of Instagram and the same recycled glam that's going around.
Yes, I totally agree. That's a good prescription. VH1 Classics and TCM.
120 minutes if you can find it. That's what I used to watch.
120 minutes.
Remember that?
Yes, of course. Oh, Lottie, it was so good talking to you.
You too. Thank you, Tiffany.
Thank you so much for popping your podcast cherry on me.
I know, it's so weird.
Truly honored, and I can't wait to talk to you again. And I'll be listening to We Speak Beauty, of course, always. And where can everybody follow you on Instagram? It's
at Lotstar.
You have to spell it Lotstar.
LOTSTAR.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, Tiffany.
Thanks for hanging out with us, and I hope you enjoyed yourself. Stay tuned for next week when we'll be talking to Kim Baker about her line and celebrating her relaunch of Glamazon, her line of beauty, and talking about her career. I will see you then. Look Behind the Look is a Vinyl Foot production, written by me, your host, Tiffany Bartok, produced by Jace Bartok, edited by Nicole Tucker, with art design by Kelly Riley. If you're interested in learning more, find our video version on the YouTube channel Look Behind the Look podcast. There you can see rare photos and clips from our guests. And please follow us on Twitter at LookBehindPod and Instagram at LookBehindTheLook. If you like the show, please rate, review, and subscribe. And tell your friends and spread the word. You can subscribe to us on iTunes or any podcatcher of your choice. Thanks for listening to Look Behind the Look.